Your energy stories for the second week of August 2025. And in the first one, Ford announced they will build a new electric pickup truck built in Kentucky that will sell for about $30,000. CEO Jim Farley referred to the underlying new construction approach as a, quote, Model T moment. The platform will initially be used for the truck and then later support other body styles such as SUVs, employing an entirely new manufacturing process. The company will use unicasting, simpler ways of casting larger parts, and assemble multiple sections of the vehicle in parallel before uniting them near the end of the assembly line. The truck will include 4,000 fewer feet of wiring. Who knew we had well over a mile of wiring in our electric vehicles? And a newer lithium iron phosphate battery that may be structurally integrated into the vehicle's floor. That battery will be smaller than the one in the current Ford Lightning, but be engineered to power one's home for up to 6 days in the case of a power outage. The company also took a swipe at Tesla. In its press release, it commented that this new Ford vehicle will, quote, have a lower cost of ownership over 5 years than a 3-year-old used Tesla Model Y. Ouch. Well, if those pickups are going to Hawaii, they may be going on different ships than in the past. Matson, the shipping company that has been responsible for bringing the majority of EVs to Hawaii's islands, has ceased delivering EVs and plug-in hybrids to the state, citing the risk of battery fires. Matson sent a letter to customers in mid-July informing them the change was effective immediately. In March, a study on maritime EV battery fire hazards was released, noting that such fires on board are nearly impossible to contain. And in June, a cargo ship with 3,000 vehicles on the way to Mexico, of which 70 were fully electric and about 680 were hybrid, caught fire and sank off of Alaska. Speaking of Tesla, but not its EVs, the company nailed a huge megapack battery order from Georgia Power, with that utility planning to deploy 3,022 megawatts and 12,088 megawatt hours of Tesla battery storage packages priced at a total of $2.7 billion across 8 sites throughout its service territory. The Georgia Public Service Commission still has to approve the deal. That storage addition is estimated to be able to support 2 million homes for 4 hours. On the distributed battery front, in California on July 29th at 7 p.m., thousands of Tesla Powerwalls and Sunrun home batteries jumped into action and began discharging power into the grid as part of an experiment to see if various entities could coordinate distributed batteries as a virtual power plant across the 3 largest California utilities. For 2 hours, this aggregation discharged 535 megawatts of power to the grid. The batteries were already enrolled in the utility's Emergency Load Reduction Program, the ELRP, and Demand-Side Grid Support, DSGS programs, but this is the first time they'd all been discharged simultaneously. According to Pacific Gas and Electric's press release, this test was just one of many planned. The ELRP program calls for at least 20 hours of battery dispatch annually, while DSGS calls for a minimum of 1 event per month. So if no real activities or emergencies occur, similar test events will continue. Well, NextEra Energy recently filed a request with the U.S. Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to reclaim interconnection rights that it had transferred from Iowa's shuttered 615-megawatt Duane Arnold nuclear plant to a solar facility. The nuclear plant was taken offline in 2020 for economic reasons, but with a surge in data center demand, it will likely join Michigan's Palisades and Pennsylvania's 3 Mile Island plants in being resuscitated and getting a new life. NextEra stated that rather than build a solar project on the site, it's looking to accelerate recommissioning of Duane Arnold, which still has all of its fuel there in a dry storage facility. And speaking of nukes, New York State plans to keep its upstate nuclear plants operating for decades, with the Department of Public Service proposing to extend the existing zero-emission credit subsidy program for Constellation Energy's 4 nuclear plants past the current planned date of 2029 for another 20 years. One estimate from an opposition group sees those payments possibly totaling over $30 billion, though state officials put that number at half that sum. And finally, the municipal utility in the village of Monroeville, Ohio, will soon host one of the largest floating solar installations in the state and country. D3 Energy has started construction on a 6-megawatt floating solar array that will cover about 30 acres of water and deliver energy to Monroeville's distribution grid, with Monroeville buying the power through a long-term PPA with project owner Gardner Capital. Floating solar provides other environmental benefits, such as reduced evaporation and improved water quality. The system is expected to be commissioned by early 2026. A recent U.S. government study estimated total U.S. potential for so-called photovoltaics at between 860 and 1,062 megawatts. Well, that's all for this week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.